In a flashback to World War II, a group of Nazi scientists demonstrates a secret project designed to create enhanced soldiers. One of them prepares to inject a test subject with a strange green serum said to grant superhuman strength. However, before the experiment can be completed, the Allied hero Spy Smasher bursts in through the window, dismantles the guards, and seizes the serum. The commotion leaves the lab in flames as Spy Smasher escapes with the formula, preventing it from falling into enemy hands. Decades later in the present, General Wade Eiling reviews footage of the Justice League's numerous world-saving missions. Rather than admiration, he feels unease because, to him, the League's strength represents an unchecked threat to ordinary humans. While they have dinner together, Dr. Amanda Waller, the former head of Project Cadmus, calmly reviews reports showing how the Justice League has regained public trust since Cadmus was dissolved. Eiling, however, is visibly angry as he argues that the League's unchecked power still threatens national security, insisting that no single group should have that much control. Calling him a hater, Waller reminds him that the League has proven itself, and that even she, their former fiercest critic, has come to see them as protectors, not conquerors, but still visibly upset about the fact that his homegirl, who has always supported his decisions, has now switched up on him and agreed to work with the ops. Meanwhile, in Metropolis, a grand parade has been organized in honor of Superman, but since he's out on a world-class mission across the galaxy, the responsibility of public representation falls to a group of Justice League benchwarmers, while Green Arrow, Shining Knight, Vigilante, Stargirl, and Stripe parade the streets. The people cheer for them, but they know deep down that no one really gives a shit about them. Some people in the crowd can't hide their disappointment as they publicly state that they came for the Kryptonian and not some washed-up side character heroes. Later that night, Eiling drives to an abandoned Cadmus storage facility where remnants of the old experiments are kept under heavy security. Using his status as an advantage, he bypasses the security and gets into the building, but when he tries to access the secret facility, he realizes that the code has been changed, so he threatens one of the nearby staff to lead him in. Inside, he reaches for the very serum Spy Smasher once secured, and although the staff tries to warn him about the side effects, he injects himself with it. Shortly after, his body convulses as he slowly transforms into a humanoid form with super strength and hardened skin. The guards around him immediately start to shoot at him, but none of their bullets penetrate his skin. Still sane, he tells them he has a job to do as he breaks out of the building. Back at the carnival, the heroes, desperate for public validation, do a couple of tricks to impress the public. While Stargirl hovers above them and flashes her sad-ass sparkles, Vigilante goes around announcing each hero and their abilities because literally nobody knows them. During their performance, Eiling suddenly arrives, forcing the people to scramble to safety. While the heroes confront him, Vigilante notices a group of little boys trying to be cool as they toss rocks at the monster. Surprised at their wits, he immediately directs them somewhere else to take cover. Identifying the monster as General Eiling, the heroes realize that the person he's got smokes with is Superman. However, when they inform him that Superman is busy taking on actual villains and not a wannabe like him, Eiling snaps and goes into berserk mode. Realizing that most of their attacks are too weak to cause any damage, Shining Knight attempts to use his magical sword on the monster, but Eiling equally doesn't want to get cooked. He picks up a bunch of cars and hurls them at Shining Knight. And although he cuts through some of them like butter, the other vehicles end up endangering some civilians. He is then forced to put a pause on the fight and rescue them instead. Eiling grabs Stripe and tries to crush him, but Stripe lunges into the sky and charges at him for a devastating punch. Eiling then equally lunges into the air to welcome him properly.
He's your poster boy.
Thinking quickly, Arrow immediately contacts Mr. Terrific, requesting backup. Sadly enough, all the other heroes are occupied, but Mr. Terrific tells him he'll try to see if he can reach any of their old allies. Meanwhile, despite putting up a good fight, Stripe gets turned into an expensive floor scrub as Eiling tosses him across the city, crashing him into buildings. While Eiling rips open Stripe's expensive suit and tries to send him to the afterlife, one of the little boys from earlier activates a crane and uses it to knock the massive general into a building. Pissed, Eiling charges for the kid, and although Stripe tries to stop him, he ends up knocking the machine off, causing the kid to fall from a high distance. Vigilante then arrives at the nick of time to save him. Eiling attempts to end Stripe again, but is stopped by Stargirl this time, who uses her cosmic staff to blast Eiling with a surge of energy, momentarily knocking him backward. She is shortly joined by Vigilante, who makes his bike explode on the General. Next, Stargirl lifts him into the sky with her magic staff, but he smashes her into the ground shortly after. Shining Knight then arrives and lands a clean hit with his sword, which penetrates the monster's skin. He also ends up tossed across the street, but at least he got to land a clean attack, unlike the other cosplay background extras. Green Arrow and Vigilante charge at Eiling and are so close to getting obliterated until they get joined by Crimson Avenger and Speedy, Arrow's ex-sidekick. Although they put up a show, it doesn't take long before they get their butt kicked as well. Bored, Eiling yells out for Superman to show his face, but Shining Knight stands up to him in an attempt to defend his honor. The General mocks him for living by old-world ideals as he knocks him down easily. But Shining Knight keeps getting up, retorting that honor never grows obsolete. While Eiling takes his time knocking him down, he declares himself the last true defender of humanity. However, his words ring hollow as the people he claims to protect look at him with fear. When he tries to end Shining Knight for good, some of the civilians step forward to defend him as they call him out for being a threat to humanity, rather than the superpowered heroes. The question halts Eiling mid-stride, and it finally dawns on him that he has become the very kind of superpowered menace he once vowed to resist. He tells them they'll realize his point in the long run as he retreats. In the aftermath of the battle, paramedics arrive to treat the wounded heroes. While Shining Knight is being taken into one of the ambulance bases, he thanks one of the civilians who stood up to defend him, and the citizen tells him to just focus on getting better so he can resume his hero duties in no time. At the Legion of Doom's headquarters, Lex Luthor, determined to reassemble the artificial intelligence that once shared his mind, stands over an array of machines designed to analyze Brainiac's remains. Although he has recovered fragments of Brainiac's data, the reconstruction process keeps failing. Lex grows increasingly impatient as the scans return incomplete results. Meanwhile, Gorilla Grodd remains bondage to Lex's BDSM machine after his failed coup against him. Figuring out that Grodd could be the one preventing him from accessing the device, Lex confronts him, demanding to know what he discovered about Brainiac before being overthrown. Grodd, however, asks him to call him Daddy first, making Lex storm out as if he didn't please him when the camera wasn't watching the previous night. Noticing his frustration, Tala, his baddie, suggests that they forcefully take the information from Grodd's mind rather than negotiating. Soon after, Lex and his scientists set up a mind transfer device originally built from Grodd's psychic technology. Although his team warns that it is unstable, Lex orders them to proceed anyway. He sits in the machine and links his consciousness to Grodd's, believing he can steal the information directly from Grodd's mind. Around the same time, aboard the Justice League Watchtower, Dr. Fate explains that Grodd's past psychic control over Flash had left a trace of mental energy that can be used to track the Legion's base. Although Flash seems hesitant about the whole process, the team talks him into it. When Fate begins the procedure and traces Grodd's mental signature, it accidentally overlaps with Lex's telepathic link to Grodd, causing the two signals to interfere across the psychic plane. An unexpected surge of energy erupts in both locations, causing both Lex and Flash to collapse. When the energy subsides, both awaken in shock, not realizing that their minds have been switched. Lex, now inside Flash's body, looks around the watchtower, confused but quick to assess the situation. When Fate reveals that their minds have been switched, Lex immediately starts speeding through the tower, looking for an escape route. Meanwhile, Flash, trapped in Lex's body, opens his eyes to find himself surrounded by the Legion's members, expecting orders from their leader. Seeing a bunch of villains refer to him as Lex, he tries to dart out of the room, but realizes how slow he has become. Tala, confronting him, tries to find out what's wrong, but Flash immediately heads into the bathroom. Looking in the mirror, he then discovers what had happened. Reaching for a cell phone from Lex's pocket, he tries to use it to contact the heroes, but can't get any reception. Dr. Polaris then confronts him, telling him the other villains are waiting for his order. At the Watchtower, Lex proves to be a rather difficult opponent as he uses his speed to destroy through the secure facilities. While he tries to steal a spacecraft, Green Lantern and Red Tornado try to stop him, but he knocks them down easily. When Lex gets hold of the spacecraft and tries to escape with it, Mr. Terrific reveals that he's only wasting his time because he has already taken measures to keep him contained in the tower. Still, Lex tries to smash through the doors, but gets confronted by Green Lantern, who is clearly not satisfied with the first ass whooping. Getting out of the spaceship, Lex immediately uses his speed to create a massive tornado, which Red Tornado shortly counters. Meanwhile, at the Legion of Doom's headquarters, Flash is led to a room where the Association of Villains is seated, awaiting his order. Most of them have started to get suspicious of how sane and rational he has been acting all of a sudden, but they decide to hear him out first. Luckily for Flash, Lex had already explained his latest plan to the crew, so he cleverly manages to get the Legion to explain it to him. The plan, as explained to him, is to steal a shipment of 100 million newly minted euros from Kaznia, which has recently switched to Eurozone currency and would now be joining the European Union. Realizing the gravity of the heist, Flash instructs them to carry on with the Geist as he excuses himself. He is shortly joined by Tara, who leads him into a room and carries out her ovulation fantasies with him. After realizing how futile his efforts are, Lex heads to the bathroom to at least discover the Flash's secret identity, but when he takes off his mask, he realizes he's just staring at some random dude he wouldn't recognize even in a police lineup. While Flash prepares the evil troops to set out for the mission, Grodd, who has only just recovered from the effect of the mind transfer device, requests to speak with him. When Flash arrives, Grodd tells him that he knows about the mind swap, but for some twisted reason, he will not reveal it. He prefers to sit back and watch it unfold like fine shit waiting for you to fumble your Riz attempt. At the tower, Fate devises a spell to reverse the mind switch, but to activate it, he'd have to make contact with at least one of them. That proves to be a problem as Lex keeps giving them a tough time with his super speed. Meanwhile, although panicked Flash keeps his cool and goes on with the heist, it turns out successful as they recover the cash. Shortly after, they receive a communication signal from the Watchtower, where the real Lex reveals that the man with them is actually a Justice Leaguer in disguise. Dr. Polaris then decides to test Flash by asking a question only the real Lex would know. Unable to answer, Flash lunges toward the communication console to send out an SOS to the League, helping the villains to confirm the claim as they cease him immediately. Meanwhile, part of his distress signal manages to reach the Watchtower, allowing Mr. Terrific to track the location. Afterward, Dr. Light, Steel, and Ice get sent as reinforcements to the location. The trio arrives just in time and meets the villains hoarding the boxes of cash on their ships. Realizing they could get cooked at any moment, Tala immediately opens a portal, which the villains use to escape, pulling Flash in with them as they abandon the money. Meanwhile, Lex diverts the pursuing League members to another part of the Watchtower and rushes toward the teleport pad. However, before he can activate it, Mr. Terrific disables the artificial gravity, causing Lex to float off the ground. Remarking that speed is meaningless without gravity, Mr. Terrific baits Lex to lunge himself forward with force, but then restores the gravity at that exact moment. Lex crashes into the floor with full force as a result, knocking himself unconscious. Dr. Fate immediately performs the reversal spell, restoring both Lex and Flash to their original bodies. When Flash wakes up, Green Lantern is still unsure if it is really him, but the moment Flash starts to recount John's old nickname from before his Marine days, he immediately shuts him up, confirming his identity. Mr. Terrific then asks Flash what he learned while in Lex's body, but the dimwit was only able to figure out that the Legion's headquarters is located somewhere in a swamp. Meanwhile, at the Legion headquarters, Lex returns to his own body while he's being held captive by the other villains. He tries to convince them that he's the real deal, but they don't believe him. Dr. Polaris suggests that it might be the Martian Man in disguise, but then decides it doesn't matter since he plans to take over leadership anyway. He charges up his powers to unalive Lex, but Lex activates a button on his belt, which causes a magnetic field that redirects Polaris's power back at him, trapping him.
Mistake.
Freeing himself, Lex explains that when he upgraded the Legion's abilities, he included a built-in override in his own system, allowing him to control or disable any of their powers. The villains then confirm that he's legit. Tala, however, who had been more interested in the more relaxed version of Lex during the swap, looks disappointed as she realizes the original Lex has returned. Thank you for sticking to the end of my video. Please do me the biggest favor by leaving a like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next video.